Hello, everyone. My name is Kamilah Sanders, and I am Vice President at Tennessee Craft Midstate. And I'm very excited today because we are going to be interviewing Ashley Mintz, who is one of our micro grant winners this year. We had 3 different micro grant winners, and basically our micro grant program is something that we are doing we actually noticed at the beginning of the pandemic how a lot of art fairs and a lot of exhibitions were getting moved or canceled. And so we wanted to do something to support our artists and our members. As you know, a lot of them were out of work. And so we decided to come up with a micro grant. And with this micro grant, we can support artists financially. And then we can also, in turn, they come up with content where they can help to build community. And then also come up with content that will teach other artists about some of their techniques. And so,
hey, Kamilah,
uh-huh.
I'm sorry, it didn't work. I'm gonna hit live again. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's fine.
I got an error message. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna try this one more time.
Oh, can you hold on one second?
Yes. That was a great test run.
Yes.
So, okay, I tell my kids to like quiet down.
Okay, ready to try this again?
Okay, let's do it again. If it doesn't work, then let's just keep going. And I mean, you can keep trying it, but if it doesn't work, then
okay,
it's
all right.
fine.
I'm gonna go live right now. Oh, I've got added. Gosh, it keeps giving me more stuff. I'm gonna say go live. Okay, I'm sorry. It's bringing up new things that don't make any sense. It's wanting me to add a bunch of titles and things. Why can't I just, okay, I'm gonna go live anyways. Okay, so setting up your meeting. I'm halfway across the loading bar.
On my end, it's saying live.
Oh, it says live on yours.
On mine, yeah, at the top right of my screen, it says recording. It says live.
I think we're live.
Yay. Great. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Kamilah Sanders. I am Vice President of Tennessee Craft Midstate. And I'm excited today because we are interviewing Ashley Mintz, and she is one of our micro grant winners. We had 3 different winners for our micro grants. And just to explain to you kind of what that is, at the beginning of the pandemic, we saw that a lot of our members and artists needed support. They lost a lot of income due to trade shows and fairs and exhibits being moved or canceled. So we kind of came together and said, okay, what can we do about this, and how can we provide artist support or with some type of income? And so what happens is the 100% of the funds for the micro grant, it goes to these artists. And then in turn, they create content or videos that help to build community, and then also it helps to teach other artists on some of their techniques. So I'm excited. You know, Ashley Mintz is one of the winners for the grant, and we only had 3 this time just because we had limited funding. But I will say that we are starting a fundraiser that you can be involved in, or anyone that supports the arts can be involved in. And you can give to that fundraiser, and it'll help us direct those funds to artists, and in turn, they'll create additional videos for the community, and it'll go to a number of our members that's much needed. So, and we'll drop some information about that in some of our social upcoming, so you'll get more additional information on that soon. So without further ado, Ashley.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So, yeah, so can you tell us, like, you know, some of your background, like kind of where you're from? I know you're not like a native Nashvilleian, so
Yeah, so I'm from Las Cruces, New Mexico, and I've actually been in Nashville for 13 years now. I think June 1st was like the anniversary of my 13th year here. So I moved in 2007. I initially wanted to do songwriting, which I did do when I first moved here, but then I got into visual art, and then just other kinds of art, but visual art kind of has been like the main thing. So but yeah, that's where I grew up, was Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Okay, great. So, so were you an artist then? Like, did you do art, or when did you first start doing art?
So I was into like different kinds of arts. When I was little, I was actually in ballet from the age of 4 to like 8. But then my ballet teacher, she broke her ankle, and then my mom couldn't find another teacher. So I had to stop that. But then in middle school, I played clarinet all through middle school. And then in middle school and high school, I was in choir and dance. So I was always into the arts in some form. But then when I moved here is when I really started to do like visual art. And before I moved here, I would do little abstract drawings and like color them just on paper. And then after I moved here, I kept doing them. And then I don't know why, but something made me want to like paint replications of those, like drawings. So so I started like doing little paintings of these drawings that I had done. And then there was a gallery downtown in Nashville that was looking for like new artists to have a group art show. And I submitted my art, and it got in. And then that just made me want to like keep doing more art. So
Yeah, so tell me about that, because you're self-taught, right? So how did that whole, kind of process go? Because you're like in exhibitions and galleries. I mean,
yeah.
So how does that?
Yeah, so I started doing like replications, and then I would go to like the Frisk Center, which is the art museum in Nashville, and I was just really inspired by the works of the exhibits that they would have there. And then I just started doing like, really just practicing and just doing my own like art stuff. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I would just paint, just abstract and like, and then I actually started going to like workshops every once in a while. And then I went to Nashville State Community College, and I took a couple of art classes there. And then I actually went to TSU for a year, and I took art classes there. So most of it was just kind of like seeing other art, and then just kind of like trying different things, my own things, and from looking at other art, and then taking workshops, and then taking classes at school.
Yeah, so. That's great. So let's get into your content for the video. So you do a lot of mixed media, which I think is very interesting. I always like mixed media because it's like painting, but you do like all these other things with it. So kind of like maybe you can go into like your technique, or just what you do in mixed media.
So when I was at TSU, I took a class, and my instructor was big on like texture and just adding textures to paintings, and that really changed like the way I did my work. And then I also I started looking online and like seeing what other people use as far as materials, and then I kind of came up with my own stuff. Like I would have just like leftover like lace, or just certain things like around my apartment, and then I would be like, oh, I could add this to the painting, and then like paint over it. And I love art that makes you want to like touch it. You know what I mean? Like it has like materials and stuff, and yeah. So that's really what I want to do with my work. And
yeah, I have kids, so it's very like the video. I can just picture kids like doing, because they like to use like different things, and
right. And when I was a kid, I remember doing like macaroni necklaces. That was like always a big thing like in school, and so I kind of remember that kind of stuff, just gluing stuff, and yeah, just making like different crafts and stuff like that.
Yeah, very cool. So tell us about the other things. So I didn't know, like you actually you do dancing. Like I see from your website, or you did. So I see from your website you do music and poetry. So tell us, kind of about that, because I think like a lot of artists, they don't just do one thing. A lot of times they do like multiple things to express their art. So kind of tell us what you do in those other areas.
Yeah, and you're right. Other artists that I know, they never do one thing. Like they might have one main thing that they focus on more, but they always are more like, or they're always like good at other forms of art. And so with dancing, I like to take dance classes, but I'm not really like a dancer per se. Like I kind of wish I would have stuck with ballet, but I'm definitely not like a dancer, but I do like to take dance classes. With poetry, so that used to be like, well, I used to like to write lyrics when I was like a teenager. And then I kind of got into poetry. And the whole lyric thing, that was what made me want to do songwriting. And then when I moved here, a couple years after I moved here, I went to Nashville State Community College. And I actually ended up taking a creative writing class and a theater class in the same semester. And so that got me into like spoken word poetry. And then that really got me into like poetry itself. And then I just started reading more poetry. And my mom actually is a writer. She's a poet too. And she writes like short stories and stuff. So she would have me read some of her stuff when I was a teenager for me to like tell her what I thought of it. So she's definitely a big influence too, as far as poetry. And then the music thing, when I was 4, like, I guess 4 was like an age when I was really starting to get around like art and stuff. But my great grandma had a piano at her house, and whenever I'd go over there, I'd play it. Like she would let me play it. But then I wasn't really into piano until after I moved here. So that was interesting. And then also my great grandma was actually a painter, and she would do ceramics of like little Indian women, like pencil holders, and she would paint them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so she was half Black and half Native American. So a lot of her art was based around those two, like, but she did a lot of Native women, like in her pieces.
So did you always know that you wanted to be an artist?
I didn't. So I know. Yeah, I know it sounds like probably weird. I guess like when I was little, I think that people, if they ever wonder what they want to like do with their life, I think that they should look at what they liked when they were younger. Like I really feel like when you're a kid, you kind of have like an inkling, or like maybe if you like something, I think that's like as a kid you kind of, I don't know, maybe like you kind of know that's what you want to do. But I look back and it's just interesting to me that I love to watch my great grandma like paint, and I love to watch her, or like I would play her piano, and then those are like the main things that I like to do now. But I didn't know like until after I moved here. I was into like different art stuff, but I didn't really have like an idea when I was young. I wasn't like, oh, this is what I want to do. So it kind of happened in my late teens, like early 20s, when I finally kind of started like getting more structured about it.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think when you're young, you think that you want to do, or you want to do certain things, and then as you get older, you kind of get molded into other directions. Yeah, right. So it's great that you came back to it, because I think that's really a big leap to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and when I moved here, I mean, it was totally just, I mean, I look back and I'm like, how was I so brave to do that? Like, I definitely feel like there was something like pushing me to like come here, and you know what I mean? Like, I wish I was that brave. I'm definitely not as brave as I was in my early 20s, but yeah. Yeah.
I would say we can all say that. Yeah, that age you don't usually have as much fear.
Right, yeah. You're just like, the world is mine, which is good. I mean, I guess you need that, like I needed that to have that kind of mindset, like to be able to do it, but yeah.
So you do, one of the things, like you do a lot of teaching, and some of the things that you taught were like art journaling and self-care, and And so let's like talk about that just a little bit, because I feel like self-care, like before the pandemic, was like a buzzword, and now everyone's like, where can I get some self-care? So,
Right.
so do you have any like, you know, maybe recommendations for fellow artists, and you know, just kind of tying the two together?
Right. Well, there's definitely no better time, even though things are opening up now, but I feel like there was probably no better time to like engage in self-care than during the pandemic when you're at home, right? And but with art, so one big thing that art helped me with was my grandpa died. It was 2010. It was right around the time of the flood, so there was a lot going on around that time anyways. And I was doing painting, but I was doing more music then. But then I kind of isolated myself because I was here by myself. I went back home for his funeral and everything, but then when I came back, I was by myself. So that's when I really started painting like a lot. Like that's when I really got into it. And I didn't think about it then, but it really helped me. Like, I mean, I probably could have done some more like destructive things, you know, like gone out drinking or something, but I feel like it just helped me because I guess also I like that I had something tangible. Like it felt good to be able to create something tangible. With music, I mean, it's still good. Like with music, I was able to like record music and stuff, but with paintings, it was just nice to have something that I could like touch and just like, you know, like look at it and say like I did that. But for self-care, I just think that art journaling is good. It's kind of basically like if you journal regularly, like with a pen or pencil, like in, you know, in a notebook. All art journaling is, at least for me and what I teach, is you're just adding, you're just going into like a notebook, like a journal, and you're just doing like small paintings. Like you're adding paint or different materials to paper. You can add writing, but I feel like it's good to have a theme. And it could be something you're going through, but I think it's nice to have something to focus on, like a certain theme. Because usually when I paint on canvas or wood, I don't really know what I'm going to paint. But with art journaling, I try to have like a focus so that I can get whatever is bothering me out, or, you know, like on paper. And journaling itself, I find that it helps me. Like I'll be worrying about something, and then once I journal about it, I really do feel better, like afterwards. I mean, it might not be right after, but I'll feel better eventually, like maybe the next day or something.
Yeah. So when you journal, you do words and you do art?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll mix it. It'll be like mixed media. Sometimes I'll just do art or just writing, but yeah, I usually like to mix the two. I'm doing art journaling.
Yeah. And so you said your paintings, you don't know what you're painting?
Right. Yeah. When I start, I usually don't have an idea. I just am like, okay, I just want to paint. And then I'll just grab like materials. I'll grab paint, like paintbrushes, all of that. And then I always have like a little container with mixed media, like lace and like tissue paper, like the kind you put in gift bags, and like scrap paper, newspaper. And then I'll just go for it. But I mean, sometimes I'll have like an idea. Like I like to do some paintings in series, like, or themes, but usually I don't know. Just like, here goes, like we'll see how this turns out. But
that's amazing.
so
yeah. So do you have like a certain time of the day that you like, or, you know, any like quirky thing, like a time of the day that you usually like to paint, or, you know, anything like that?
Now I really don't. I try to get up early, like not too early in the morning. I'm not really a morning person, but I try to like get up in the morning and like get stuff done. And I try to write a little first. I've been more into writing lately than painting. But when I, like years ago when I first started painting, and even when I was in school, nighttime was like my time for painting. And I could go until like early hours of the morning. Like I cannot do that anymore. But like I mean I could, but I know I won't feel good in the morning. But I don't know how, but I was able to do it. But nighttime used to be like the time to do it. And it might have been because I had school and stuff like that. But now I would say like daytime. I guess still kind of like sometimes in the evening I'll get into painting, but I try to get up in the morning and get some of that stuff done. Because I feel like I have more time in the day, like I've spent more time doing actually something productive.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we talked a little bit about some things, but what you do in the community, like I would love to get into that, because you do a lot of, you do a lot of work as far as like you've done community art projects, you've done exhibitions. So, and you've also have, relationships with certain, art organizations within the community. And a lot of teaching, like a long resume and things. So I thought that piece was really interesting about you. So can you talk more about that and just like, how did you get into the community?
Yeah, so I used to live in downtown Nashville, and there's a library, the main branch is downtown, and they always have obviously not now because of everything going on, but they used to have like a lot of different workshops that were free. And whenever they would have anything kind of like artistic, I would go. But they mostly did like paper arts and bookmaking, which I really loved though. I would suggest to anyone to do like bookmaking workshops to go to those. They're really great. But so I started going to those, and then one day I asked one of the people at the library who was like in charge of the workshops. She would like introduce the instructor. I just asked her like, how do you find your instructors, and are there any art instructors? And she said that there wasn't, like at least not like painting. So so I was like, can I propose something? Like I don't have a lot of experience, but I would like to try to do something. And then so she told me to send her a proposal. And I sent one on doing, like adding textures to paintings. And then, so she let me teach the class. And I think it was, because they put a cap on it, but it was full, but I think maybe like one person that signed up didn't show up. But it went well. And then I started, she suggested a couple of other branches. And then I just started calling like different branches. And I just started teaching at different libraries. And then, when was it? So in 2016 is when I did the first community arts project with Metro Arts, with funding through Metro Arts. And with that, I just kind of, I found out about it. I don't know how I found out about it. I must have been looking up like grants or funding or something in Nashville. And then I think I'd heard of Metro Arts before, but so I applied for that. And then I got funding for that, and I did that art project. And that was at the Curb Center in Vanderbilt. And then, so I did another thing with Edge Hill and NBHA through Metro Arts because they had told me about it like the next year. And then I did another Metro Arts Thrive funding is what it was. And so I did it in 2017 and then 2019. And then other places I've taught, like the Scarritt Bennett Center, I did like an embodied resilience seminar, and it was like art journaling and like poverty in the arts. So it's basically just me contacting them and being like, hey, I want to do this. And that's usually how I do stuff. Like I'll just call or like email, like, hey, how do you find your instructors? And it just kept like going like on and on. It's just like the more experience I got, the easier it was to get more, which I think is usually how it goes. But so I definitely appreciate like the people who let me, especially in the beginning, like the lady at the library, her name's Liz. She really took a chance because that wasn't like teaching wasn't my thing. And I didn't have really any experience. I had art that I had done. Like I could show her, my website, but I didn't really have teaching experience. But it's just taking a chance and finding someone who's willing to like give you an opportunity. So.
Yeah. So are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Oh my gosh, I'm such an introvert, big time.
Yeah, so the reason why I'm asking that is because, you know, a lot of artists, like they're very into their art, and they're like, you know, if you're introverted, like you don't want to go out, and you don't want to go up to a person. Like that can be like an uncomfortable situation, even for an extrovert. That can be an uncomfortable situation to do. So it's interesting to know. It's not like that was like really easy for you to do at the time.
Right. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like if I have to like put myself out there, if I want something, I have to put myself out there. But getting myself out there or like trying to contact people is not as hard as actually doing like the classes and stuff. That is a little hard. Like that can be hard because I kind of feel shy when, you know, when people, everyone's like looking at me to be talking and showing them stuff, and I'm just like, okay, like I have to have like a list of things that I'm gonna say, like like, you know, like have it in order, but I'm definitely an introvert.
Yeah. So how did you get in, like, how do you like teaching? And is it just kind of like the feeling that you have afterwards? Because I've taught some things before too, and it's like you kind of feel like, oh, you know, people are so grateful to be able to be taught. You actually have something of value to teach people. Maybe at the beginning of the class you don't feel that way, but like how did you feel doing that, or how do you kind of get through that?
Yeah, so I mean, so in the beginning of each class, I'm usually, I mean, it gets better the more I do it, but I feel like you said, like at the end of the class, it feels really great because usually people, when they take art classes, I feel like they're like, oh no, like I always have at least one person who's like, I'm not really good at this, but I just wanted to try it. But then, I mean, really everyone ends up doing something like really good, and people really underestimate themselves. So it's great to see like the look on people's faces when they see something that they've created. And that's part of the reason why I like teaching, because it gives everyone a chance to like, or, you know, like everyone who's there a chance to just like create and to learn ways to be expressive with themselves. So
yeah.
Okay.
So tell me about some of your favorite exhibitions.
Of my own.
Yeah, your
okay.
own.
So I think we're planning on talking about the Being Black in America one.
Yes, I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite ones, and I did one after that at the same place called Our Chaotic Nature, and so that was like 2018. I really like that one too, but I think Being Black in America is probably like my favorite.
Yeah, and that was in 2016, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's get into that. Like, let's talk about, and I know you have some things to show, but I would love to get into that exhibit, Being Black in America. Yeah. And in 2016, of course, it's been a relevant topic like for a very long time.
Right.
But kind of like what kind of the feelings that you were having during that exhibit, and what the purpose and meaning behind that exhibit was. And then kind of, you know, I would love to like kind of bring it full circle to today.
Okay. Yeah. So, so I kind of want to go back to when I first started really getting into painting. I saw an exhibit at the Friz Center of works by an artist named Aaron Douglas. And he's no longer living, but I believe he taught at Fisk University. But his paintings were usually of slaves, and they would have, like, I remember some of his paintings had slaves with, like they were handcuffed, but the handcuffs were broken, and just things like that, like, and I think he had like some musical themes in his paintings too, but his work really moved me. And then I don't even think it was like on purpose, but it was kind of like subconscious. Like I started just thinking about the connections between like times of slavery and just how it's carried through, like even if people don't realize it, like just certain mannerisms and thought processes that people have, I feel like it's kind of carried through the generations. Like trauma and stuff like that. So, so I kind of just, I did a few paintings based around like slavery early on when I first started painting. And then around like 2015, I kind of started sketching just different paintings. And then with the idea of not necessarily that exhibit, but just that I would do like certain paintings that were around that kind of content that were in the exhibit. And then I can't remember how I found the Scarritt Bennett Center here in Nashville. But I saw that they had exhibits, and then I contacted the woman, her name is Joyce, who does the exhibits. And I told her that I wanted to do one. And then we started like emailing back and forth, and I showed her some of my work. And then we set it up. And then around the same time, the building that I lived in was being sold. And so I was gonna have to move. And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like it was just a lot of like craziness going on in my mind. Like I was just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So, and I don't even remember how I came back to the Scarritt Bennett website, but I saw that they would take volunteers, like they had volunteers working in exchange for living there. So I was like, maybe I can do that. And then I ended up at the beginning of 2016, I think it was like February, I was staying on there because it used to be a school. So they have like old dorm rooms. And so I was staying there while I was volunteering. And then I also started working on the actual exhibit there. So, and the content kind of came from, like I said, just feeling like there's certain things that I felt like I was noticing in the way that people like think. And my grandparents used to talk about how they were treated, like, because I grew up with the Black side of my family. So my mom's Black, my dad's white. And I remember my grandparents from my mom's side used to talk about just how it was for them growing up. And then just certain things that they would say, like, I don't know, even when I was younger, like a teenager, I started thinking, like, this kind of makes me think of those times, like just the way people were treated and stuff. So that's kind of how I started getting the content for that.
Yeah.
And I worked on it, and then I did it, or I hung everything. It was like in the fall, so it was in October of 2016. And so I think when you see the works, I can like explain it more, but yeah.
Yeah, so do you have some to show us?
Yes. All right, I'm gonna scoot forward. Let's see. So I'm gonna go to my website. Can you see it?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so the first two rows, so this first 6 drawings, these are actually drawings, it's kind of like a series. So a few of these paintings in this exhibit were kind of like then and now, like comparing things. So so this series is called Mother Embraces Son, and the top 3, let's see if I can click on, okay. So the top 3 are, it's a slave mother. So it's like she's embracing her son at his birth. And then she's embracing her son, and it's his first day in the fields. And then she's embracing her son because he's being old. And then I wanted to bring it to now. And it actually started with this. And this is kind of, it looks really different from the other ones. But I don't know if you can see, like to me, it looks like a mother holding her son. And it's really abstract. But it actually started with this one. And I don't know why I did the others similar to each other and not this one. But that's just how they came out. But so here, she's just embracing her son, like quality time. And then here, because all the shootings of unarmed Black men by police officers, that's what this reflects. So she's embracing her son, and he's unarmed. And then here, she's embracing her son at his funeral. And but yeah, so those ones were just kind of like a before and after. And then let's see.
So I think those are interesting because because it's a single mom, Or that's what it's kind of implied.
Oh yeah.
There's not a father in the picture.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like I didn't really think about that when I did those, but yeah, that's an interesting like observation. And I think I did that mostly because the relationship between like a Black mother and son is, I feel like it's kind of different than one with her daughter. And and definitely like Black women are, that's not to say that only Black men are getting killed. Obviously, we can see with Breonna Taylor that, you know, that's not, like, it's Black women too. But, you know, I didn't think about that though. But and somebody actually asked me at the exhibit, why, like, they asked me why it was the mother and the son. And I can't remember what I said, but I think that, I mean, I don't know how to, I don't really know. That was just what came.
Yeah,
but it's definitely, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think you're right that it's a different type of relationship when you think of a mother and a child, you know, and even a mother and a son, it's a different type of care and relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there's this one. It's called Identity Crisis. And this is like a simple one. This is actually one of the first ones that I did when I first kind of really got into painting. So it was like 2012 when I did it. But so when I went to school at Nashville State, there was a lot of guys that I was classmates with, and I was in the music technology program. So I was in a lot of classes, I was the only girl, or it might have been like me and like one or two other girls. But I just felt like when I would get to know these guys, it seemed like they were like holding in a lot of just like pain or like anger. But whenever they like say, like if they were smoking or like getting high, like it made them feel more mellow. And some of these guys I was close friends with, but I just wanted to do something that reflected like how they would do something to make themselves feel better, but it really felt like it was just like masking, you know, what was really going on or how they really felt. So
yeah, it's like self-medicating.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then this one, it's really small. It's on a magazine page. There was actually a girl on the page who had like she had an afro, but it was a little bit smaller. But I just like went over it with paint and some ink, and then that's what came of that. And then I didn't even think of this, but somebody was like, "That's you, isn't it?" And I was like, "I guess it is." Like, and then I mean, because I wrote "does not identify," and I think that kind of reflects just like even just being mixed, or even just like someone being Black. It's like just the Black identity. It's just hard. I mean, it's really hard in America for people of color to just be who they are. I feel like sometimes, you know what I mean? To just have the identity of just being themselves, like without, and well, a lot of this, like, let's see this one too. Like I call it Color Girl, but that was kind of like me being like tongue in cheek, because I feel like that's actually kind of like, I don't know, I guess I would say maybe disrespectful, you know, to be like, oh, color, whatever. I mean, I think if you say woman of color, that's, you know, I don't think that's like disrespectful, but I did this title to kind of be tongue in cheek, but also all of the different colors. Like, I like to use bright colors to just show that like there's just more like expressiveness and more colors and attributes of people besides their skin color. So I just use like, I don't know, I use a lot of bright colors. Let's see what else. Oh, this was one. So this is also like a then and now kind of thing. So it's obviously on the left side it shows like slavery and them being like they're in shackles, and on the right it shows a Black man in prison, and this reflects just the disproportion of like how Black men are, or even Black people of color are put in prison for longer sentences than white people for like the same crimes, or they get put in prison for crimes they didn't commit. And also it's hard to see, but on the right, so the guy in jail, on the like kind of on the right side of his waist, there's like a little white, it's hard to see it, but there's a little white square, and on that square it says made with 100% cotton. So that was done on purpose, because on the left it's like slaves were picking cotton, you know, like they were forced into slavery, they're picking cotton, and then now they're still in slavery, and what he's wearing is made from cotton. Like, but yeah, let's see. I'll do one more, and then you can tell me if you want me to scroll up to any more. But this is kind of the same. Well, it's kind of hard to see. I'll do this. This is kind of the same thing. It's like a then and now. So at the top, there's a group of guys being auctioned off, like slaves. They're being auctioned off. And then, because I kind of was thinking, and I think I've seen other people make this observation where the like drafts kind of feel like that, because a lot of the athletes are African American, and you can see like with I'm gonna totally butcher his name, but Colin Kaepernick, I think is his name. So when is that right? Okay. when he took a knee, like people got mad, and I heard people saying like just play the game or whatever, and that just shows how much I feel like a lot of athletes are just there to entertain or to like build wealth for other people, in a sense. And that's kind of how it was. I mean, well, that is how it was with the drafts. Like they would pick the more athletic to be able to work. So
there was one you had, I think it's called consumerism.
Oh,
can you talk about that one?
Is it that one, consumption?
Yeah, consumption.
Yeah. I kind of wish I would have done more in this, like, with this kind of look. I think I actually will try, but so this one, it started out, I don't know, I was just doing like a guy with a TV for a head. I don't know what I was thinking, but and then it just kind of became about like a painting about just like media and how we consume a lot of media, and then other things that aren't good for us. And I definitely am talking about myself too, like, because I sometimes I will get on my iPad and I'll be like online longer than I need to, or like I'll, you know, drink soda or whatever. Like I'll consume stuff too that I really shouldn't be. But I kind of wanted to do like a pop art theme too, but basically it slowly just became something that reflects just how we just consume so much, and like so many things in a way that's not good for us, and how it actually like blinds us from, because I actually had a poem next to this one, because it kind of does look different than the other paintings that were in the exhibit. And the poem, I can't remember exactly what it was. It was just like a short passage, but it was basically saying that with all this consumption, we're distracted by what's really going on just around us. And so basically, like on the left side, you can see a girl. She has like a computer head, and she's holding like a bag of chips. And then the guy that's sitting down, he's on a laptop, and he also has a head that's a TV or a computer. And then he has a soda next to him. And then it's kind of hard to tell on this one, but there's like underneath the soda, there's someone laying sideways, and it's like a TV head, and she's holding a tablet. And then the other person standing on the right is taking a piece of chocolate from the TV head guy. But but yeah, so that's basically what it became, was just how easily we can become distracted, and how confusing it can be too. Like I feel like there's a lot of confusion when you get online a lot, because that happened to me during the pandemic, where I was just like, I found myself getting anxiety because I was always online, like worried about what was happening, and I had to just like pull away, and then I started feeling better. So, but yeah, that's kind of what this reflects.
Yeah, that's great. So are these for sale?
Some of them have been sold. Some of them, I mean, I can do prints of any of them. Some of them I'm gonna put in another exhibit, like this one and this one. I'm trying to do more like that, to have an exhibit of just drawings.
Yeah. And what medium did you use for those? Is that just acrylic or?
This one, yeah. So that was that was acrylic paint, markers, and paint. I did use some paint, but I love using acrylic markers. And then I also, it was mostly marker. I also used like permanent markers and then pen. And these took forever to do. That was in the exhibit too, or like a print of it. It's supposed to be.
Oh, go on.
No, I was just gonna say it's supposed to be Tupac, but I don't know what it looks like.
What was some of the feedback from the exhibit?
It was pretty good. I had people like emailing me, like thanking me for it, and then I left a little book for people to sign, and a lot of people were really like happy that I did something around race that would make people maybe a little uncomfortable, but make them think about things. And I actually had, like for the reception, it was a really good turnout. And I had some people go and they took their kids, because they're like, I want my kids to see this, like I want to talk to my kids and let them know what's going on around race. And then it was in the Nashville Arts Magazine, the Nashville Scene. So I got pretty good feedback.
Awesome. Yeah. So definitely looking forward to any other exhibits that you might have going on. So what else do you have like on your horizon? What other projects are you working on?
All right, I'm gonna get out of this. Okay. So I did have some things coming up, but as you know, 2020 has been canceled officially, at least so far. But some things got postponed. So in October, I have a retreat. It's a 3-day retreat at the Scarritt Bennett Center. And it's basically like art journaling and doing different like writing exercises. And so it'll be 3 days of that. And then I was gonna have an exhibit at the Scarritt Bennett Center this summer, and it was gonna be a group exhibition by artists who are women of color, but that got postponed. So it's actually probably not gonna be until next year, because I think they're gonna have to cancel for the rest of the year, at least exhibit. And then I'm just kind of like writing more. Me and my mom, who I mentioned is a writer, we're actually working on self-publishing a collaborative book, which will have my art and her writing, and we're still working on that. So I don't know when that will be. We're trying to do it by the summer. We're probably going to start really putting it together this month, and then hopefully having it soon. And I think that's probably it for now. I'm going to try to make more like how-to videos, because doing it for the micro grant definitely made me like want to do that more. That was really fun to do. So I think I'm going to try to do more of that too.
That would be great. I think you have a really unique technique, so that would be great.
Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that.
And then we also have you on the panel discussion, and that's coming up on the 18th. That's for our, monthly meetup that we have with makers at 6:30, and that's going to be talking about pivoting during this time, and we're actually talking to all of our micro grant recipients, and then I'll be covering some things on marketing because that's my background. But it would be very exciting to talk to you then. So and what were you gonna say?
I was just saying I look forward to the panel too. That'll be fun.
So we're coming up to the top of the hour, and I don't think that there's gonna be any questions. So if there is, I'm gonna wait just a minute to see if we're flagged for anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I think we're fine. So it was great talking with you. Thank you for sharing that exhibit. I think, I'd love to see a lot more of, the different paintings that you have in the exhibition. So you'll have to keep us posted. So where can people find you?
So my website is www.ashleymintz, so ASHLEYMINTZ.weebly, WEEBLY.com.
Okay. All right.
And then, I also have a blog, and that's easy to find through my website. Like if you go to the website.
Okay.
So.
Great. Okay. Well, it was good talking with you, and thanks for everything that you shared.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks.